What if that old, dirty penny hiding in your pocket is secretly worth thousands or even over $100,000? Most people ignore worn and stained Lincoln cent coins, but some of the rarest treasures look exactly like common change. VDB Lincoln cent with a strange doubling error can be worth life-changing money. Before you spend another penny, check those dates carefully because one rare Lincoln cent could turn your spare change into a fortune overnight. What if I told you that an old, dirty 1959 penny sitting in a jar right now could be worth big money, even life-changing value? Most people would toss it aside without a second look. But hidden among millions of ordinary coins could be a 1959 Lincoln penny that collectors have paid hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, tens of thousands of dollars to own. And here's the shocking part. Some of these treasures were found in pocket change. Let's go back to 1959. This wasn't just any year. It marked the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and for the first time since 1909, the reverse design of the Lincoln cent changed. The famous wheat ears disappeared, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial. It was a historic transition, a new design, a new era. And in times of change, mistakes happen. That's where the hidden treasure begins. The 1959 Lincoln penny was struck at two mints, Philadelphia and Denver. If there's no mint mark under the date, it's from Philadelphia. If you see a small D under 1959, it's from Denver. Over 1 billion were made combined, so most are worth just a cent. But don't click away, because the rare varieties are where the big money hides. First, let's talk about condition. A 1959 penny in circulated, worn condition might only bring a few cents. But if you find one in uncirculated condition, bright red, full mint luster, no scratches, that's a different story. A 1959 penny graded MS67 red has sold for over $1,000 at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions. That's serious money for a coin most people ignore. Now here's where things get shocking. There are proof versions of the 1959 Lincoln penny struck in Philadelphia for collectors. These proof coins have mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. They were never meant for circulation. But some escaped into pocket change. A deep cameo proof, meaning strong frosted details against mirrored fields, can sell for $500 to over $2,000 depending on grade. But wait. It gets even more intense. One of the most mysterious stories in U.S. coin collecting is the rumored 1959 D wheat penny. That's right, a 1959 penny with a Denver mint mark, but with the old wheat reverse instead of the Lincoln Memorial. Officially, this coin does not exist. The mint changed the design completely in 1959. Yet one example surfaced decades ago, sparking massive controversy. Experts debated whether it was real or an altered coin. If a genuine 1959 D wheat penny were ever authenticated, it could command life-changing value, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions. Imagine finding that in your grandfather's coin jar. That's the kind of hidden treasure collectors dream about. Now let's reset your attention with another shocking fact. The 1959 Lincoln penny is known for double die errors. Look closely at the word Liberty and the date. On some rare varieties, the letters appear slightly doubled. Not machine doubling. That flat, shelf-like look, but true hub doubling with clear separation. A strong double die can sell from $100 to over $1,000 depending on visibility and condition. And that's not all. Off-center strikes are another big money error. If your 1959 penny is struck 10%, 20%, even 50% off-center, and the date is still visible, collectors pay serious cash. A dramatic off-center example can bring $200 to $800 or more. The more dramatic and the better preserved, the higher the value. Then there are clipped planchets. Check the rim carefully. Does it look like a curved bite was taken out of the coin? That could be a genuine mint error. Authentic clipped planchets on a 1959 penny can range from $50 to several $100s. Here's something most people never check: the rim and edge thickness. A broad strike error happens when the coin is struck without the retaining collar. The result? A wider, thinner penny with no defined rim edge. These can easily reach $150 to $400 depending on condition. Now let's talk about color, because color means money. Collectors classify copper pennies as brown, BN, red-brown, RB, or red, RD. Full original red color is the most desirable. A 1959 D penny graded MS67 red has sold for over $2,000 in top condition. That's big money from a coin that originally bought you a piece of candy. And here's another auction story to wake you up. A pristine 1959 proof Lincoln cent graded PR69 deep cameo by professional coin grading service sold for thousands because of its nearly perfect surfaces. Only a tiny handful reached that grade. That's the power of condition rarity. Not all treasure is about errors, sometimes it's about perfection. But let's dig deeper into how you identify your coin right now. Check the date 1959. Step 2. Look under the date for a mint mark. No mint mark means Philadelphia. A small D means Denver. Flip it over. You should see the Lincoln Memorial on the back. If you see wheat ears instead, stop everything. You may have something extraordinary. Examine the surface under bright light or magnification. Look for doubling in God we trust, liberty, and the numbers in the date. Inspect the rim. Is it complete and even? Or does it show signs of clipping, spreading, or missing metal? Evaluate color. Is it bright red or dark brown? The redder and cleaner it is, the more collectors will pay. And here's another shocking twist. Some 1959 pennies were struck on wrong planchets, meaning the metal blank was intended for another coin. While extremely rare, a Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet or foreign blank can sell for thousands. These are lighter in weight and may appear slightly smaller. If your 1959 penny weighs significantly less than 3.11 grams, it's worth investigating. Let me say that again, 1 gram difference could mean big money. Now imagine this scenario. You're sorting through an old coffee can of coins inherited from family. You almost skip over the 1959 pennies because they aren't wheat cents. But one looks unusually sharp. Bright red. Crisp Lincoln Memorial. You send it for grading. Weeks later, you get the call. It's MS67 red. Value? Over $2,000. That's life-changing value from a coin people overlook every day. And here's the emotional truth. Hidden treasure rarely looks dramatic at first glance. It looks ordinary. It looks old. It looks dirty. That's why so many valuable coins slip through fingers unnoticed. The 1959 Lincoln penny represents change, history, and possibility. It marks the end of the wheat era and the start of the memorial design. And within that transition lies opportunity, errors, high grades, proofs, and controversial mysteries. Before you dismiss your 1959 pennies, check them carefully. Use a magnifying glass. Compare lettering. Study the rim. Look for unusual weight, off-center strikes, doubling, or stunning red luster. Because somewhere out there, someone is holding a 1959 penny worth far more than 1 cent. Someone is holding big money. Someone is holding hidden treasure. And the next one could be in your pocket. So today, don't ignore that jar of coins. Spread them out. Look for 1959. Check for mint marks. Study the details. That small copper disc could hold life-changing value. And if you love discovering coins with big money potential, make sure you subscribe. Because the next coin we uncover might be even more shocking. Now go check your pennies before someone else finds your treasure first. What if I told you that a single 1960 D Lincoln penny, a coin most people would throw into a tip jar, could be worth thousands of dollars, maybe even life-changing value? I'm not talking about a rare gold coin. I'm talking about a small copper cent from 1960 with a tiny D under the date. And hidden among the billions made that year are pieces bringing big money at auction. Here's where it gets interesting. The year 1960 was a turning point. America was stepping into a new decade. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was still relatively new, introduced just the year before. But something unusual happened at the Denver Mint. In 1960, they created 2 completely different date styles, large date and small date. And that small difference? It changed everything. Now lean in, because this is where collectors start paying attention. The 1960 D large date is common. You'll see it everywhere. But the 1960 D small date? That's the one that makes hearts race. On the small date, the 0 in 1960 is noticeably smaller and sits higher compared to the 6 and 9. The word liberty often appears weaker or less sharp. Once you see the difference side by side, you can't unsee it. And here's the shocker. A 1960 D small date in top uncirculated condition, full blazing red color, has sold for thousands of dollars through major auction houses like Heritage Auctions. In elite grades like MS67 red, Examples have brought $3,000 to over $5,000 depending on eye appeal. That's big money for a penny people still find in old jars. But wait, because it gets even more intense. Within the 1960 D small date series, there are repunched mint mark varieties. Look closely at the D under the date. On some coins, you'll see a shadow or secondary impression slightly north or south of the main mint mark. These RPM's repunched mint marks happen when the mint mark was manually punched into the die more than once. A strong 1960 D small date RPM in high grade can sell for $150, $300, even $1,000 depending on strength and condition. That's hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. Let's reset your attention with something even more dramatic. The 1960 Philadelphia issue, without a mint mark, also has a small date and large date. And the 1960 small date from Philadelphia in pristine red condition has brought staggering prices. A top-graded MS-67 red 1960 small date sold for over $14,000 at auction. Imagine that. $14,000 for a 1-cent coin. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know if mine is valuable? Let me walk you through it step by step. First, check the date. It must read 1960. Second, look directly under the date. If there's a small D, it was struck at the Denver Mint. No mint mark means Philadelphia. Third, study the size of the date. On the small date, the 0 is tiny and sits higher. On the large date, the 0 is bigger and more level with the other numbers. Fourth, examine the color. Copper cents are graded as brown, BN, red-brown, RB, or red, RD. Full original red color is where the big money lives. A dull brown 1960 D is usually worth face value or a few cents. But a blazing red, mark-free example, that's where life-changing value begins. Now here's another shock. Proof coins were also made in 1960 struck with mirror-like fields and sharp detail for collectors. A 1960 small date proof with deep cameo contrast frosted Lincoln against mirrored background can sell for hundreds to thousands if graded at the very top by companies like Professional Coin Grading Service. And sometimes, these proofs escape into circulation. But we're not done yet. Let's talk about errors, because errors equal excitement. Off-center strikes on a 1960 D penny can bring $200 to $800 or more, especially if the date is still visible. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more collectors compete for it. Clipped planchets, where a curved bite is missing from the edge, can range from $75 to $300 depending on size and eye appeal. Broad strikes, coins struck without the collar, resulting in a wider, thinner appearance with no defined rim often sell for $150 to $400. And here's one that really gets attention. Double die errors. True hub doubling, not machine doubling. Look closely at In God We Trust and Liberty. If you see clear separation in the letters, not just flat shadowing, you could be holding a coin worth hundreds or more. Strong double dies in high grade can cross the $1,000 mark. Let me give you a scenario that's played out more than once. A collector in his 60s was sorting through rolls of old cents saved since childhood. He noticed one 1960 D looked slightly different. The date seemed tighter. The color was bright red. He sent it for grading. It came back MS-67 red small date. Auction result? Over $4,000. That's not pocket change. That's big money. Now here's something most people overlook, the rim and edges. Check for uneven thickness. Check for missing reeds. Well, cents don't have reeds, but check for smooth, abnormal expansion. Check for lamination errors, cracks, or peeling metal along the surface. Lamination errors on 1960 D cents can bring $100 to $500 depending on severity. And don't forget weight. A normal 1960 D copper cent should weigh about 3.11 grams. If yours is significantly lighter or heavier, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. Wrong planchet errors can bring thousands. That's the kind of hidden treasure that changes everything. Let's pause for a moment and think about the psychology here. In 1960, over 1.5 billion cents were struck in Denver alone. Most are common. Most are ordinary. But within massive production runs, tiny variations become rare. And rarity is what drives collectors. Rarity creates bidding wars. And bidding wars create life-changing value. That's why a simple difference in date size, something most people would never notice, can mean the difference between 1 cent and several $1,000s. Now imagine this. You're sitting at your kitchen table tonight. You pour out an old jar of pennies. You almost ignore the 1960 D coins because they don't look special. But then you remember, small date versus large date. You grab a magnifier, and suddenly, you see it. The small, raised zero. The subtle difference. The bright red shine. Your heart skips, because you know you might be staring at big money. This is why coin collecting is so powerful. It's not just metal. It's possibility. It's the thrill of discovery. It's the idea that hidden treasure could be sitting quietly in your home right now. And here's the cliffhanger. There are still unsearched rolls of 1960 D cents sitting in bank vaults and private collections. There are still estates being opened. There are still jars being dumped into Coinstar machines every single day. The next life-changing value 1960 D small date could be moments away from being lost forever. So before you dismiss those old pennies, check the date. Check the mint mark. Compare the size of the numbers. Look for repunched mint marks. Study the color. Inspect the rim. Weigh the coin. Because that tiny copper disc might not be just 1 cent. It might be big money. And if you want to keep uncovering hidden treasure like this, coins hiding in plain sight with shocking value, make sure you subscribe right now. Because the next coin we talk about might be worth even more, and it could already be in your pocket. What if I told you that a mysterious 1964 Lincoln penny, a coin that technically wasn't even supposed to exist, has sold for over $30,000, and a few experts believe the very best examples could climb even higher? I'm talking about serious big money. I'm talking about hidden treasure. I'm talking about the legendary 1964 SMS Lincoln penny. Now here's where the story gets almost unbelievable. In 1964, the United States was in the middle of a coin shortage. Silver was disappearing from circulation. People were hoarding coins. The mint was under pressure. And officially, there were no special mint sets that year. But then, out of nowhere, a tiny group of strange 1964 coins surfaced. They weren't regular business strikes. They weren't normal proofs. They had razor-sharp detail, satin-like surfaces, and an unusual, almost experimental appearance. Collectors were stunned. These coins became known as the 1964 SMS coins, special mint set coins that were never officially released to the public. Among them, the 1964 SMS Lincoln penny. And fewer than a few dozen are believed to exist. Let that sink in. Billions of Lincoln cents were made in 1964, but maybe only 20 to 50 SMS pennies. That's extreme rarity. That's the kind of scarcity that creates life-changing value. And here's the shocking part. One 1964 SMS Lincoln cent, graded SP67 red, by professional coin grading service, sold for over $32,000 through heritage auctions. $32,000 for a penny dated 1964. That's not hype. That's documented auction history. That's big money backed by real sales. Now you're probably wondering, how do I know if I have one? Because here's the twist. At first glance, a 1964 SMS penny looks similar to a normal 1964 cent same date. No mint mark, because in 1964, pennies were struck only in Philadelphia without mint marks and in Denver with a small d. But the known SMS pennies are Philadelphia strikes with no mint mark. So step 1, look at the date. It must say 1964. Step 2, check for a mint mark. If there's a D, it's Denver, not SMS. The known 1964 SMS cents do not have a mint mark. Now here's where things get serious. The surfaces of an SMS penny are completely different. They have a sharp, squared rim. The edges are crisp and well-defined, almost knife-like compared to the rounded rims of regular business strikes. The fields, the flat background areas, have a smooth, satin finish. Not mirror-like like a proof. Not dull like circulation coins. Something in between. And the strike? It's incredibly sharp. Look at Lincoln's hair. The bow tie. The steps of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. On SMS examples, these details are unusually crisp. This is not something you can casually glance at. You need magnification. You need good lighting. Because the difference is subtle but dramatic once you see it. Now let me reset your attention with another shocking fact. A regular 1964 penny in circulated condition is worth 1 cent. Maybe 2 or 3 cents for copper value. Even a bright red, uncirculated 1964 might bring $10 to $20. But a confirmed 1964 SMS penny? Tens of thousands. That's the definition of hidden treasure. And it gets even more mysterious. No official records clearly explain why these SMS coins were made. Some experts believe they were experimental strikes. Others think they were presentation pieces made for mint officials. A few suspect they were test runs for the special mint sets that officially began in 1965. But here's the key. They were never meant to circulate. Yet somehow, a handful escaped into private hands. Imagine the moment someone first realized what they had. A 1964 penny that didn't look quite right. Too sharp. Too perfect. Sent off for grading. Weeks of waiting. And then the result comes back. 1964 SMS. That's life-changing value discovered by someone who simply paid attention. Now let's talk about mistakes people make. Some collectors confuse SMS coins with proof coins. But there were no regular proof sets issued in 1964. Proof production paused after 1964 and resumed in 1968. The 1964 proofs were struck differently and have deep mirrored surfaces. The SMS coins do not have those deep mirrors. They have a distinct satin texture. Also, beware of polished coins. Some people try to artificially create a special look by polishing regular cents. But polishing destroys value. It leaves hairlines and unnatural shine. A genuine 1964 SMS penny will have original surfaces, smooth, consistent, and untouched. Let's inject another burst of excitement. The 1964 SMS coins aren't just pennies. There are SMS nickels, dimes, quarters, and half dollars from 1964 as well, all extremely rare. But the Lincoln cent is often the most accessible entry point because people actually search rolls of pennies. And yes, people still search original bank-wrapped rolls from the 1960s. Now imagine this scenario. You inherit an old collection. Inside is a small envelope marked 1964 uncirculated. You open it. The penny inside looks different. The rims are sharp. The strike is stunning. You compare it to normal 1964 cents and notice the difference immediately. You send it to grading. And weeks later, you get confirmation. That single coin could pay off a car, cover a vacation, maybe more. That's why you never ignore a 1964 penny that looks too nice. Now let's be realistic for a moment. The odds of finding a genuine 1964 SMS penny are extremely low. These are among the rarest modern Lincoln cents. But that rarity is exactly why they command big money when they appear. Even today, when one surfaces at auction, collectors compete aggressively. Because opportunities are rare. And when rarity meets demand, prices explode. So here's exactly what you should do tonight. Pull out your 1964 pennies. Separate the ones with no mint mark. Under magnification, examine the rims. Are they squared and sharp? Check the surfaces. Do they have a satin texture rather than dull or mirror-like shine? Look closely at Lincoln's hair detail and the steps of the memorial. Are they unusually crisp? Compare with a normal 1964 cent side by side. And if something feels different, don't ignore that feeling. Because hidden treasure often hides behind subtle differences. And remember this, the coin world is full of surprises. Just when people think everything has been discovered, another rarity surfaces. The 1964 SMS Lincoln penny is proof that even in modern times, even in years when nothing special was supposed to happen, extraordinary coins were created. That's why coin collecting is so powerful. It's history. It's mystery. It's the thrill of the hunt. And sometimes it's life-changing value. So before you dismiss that ordinary-looking 1964 cent, take a closer look. Because one sharp rim, one satin surface, one extraordinary strike could turn 1 cent into big money. And if you love uncovering hidden treasure like this, make sure you subscribe right now. Because the next rare coin we reveal might be sitting quietly in your collection, waiting to shock you. What if I told you that a plain-looking 1967 Lincoln penny, a coin most people wouldn't bend down to pick up, could be worth thousands of dollars, and in rare cases, even more? I'm talking about big money hiding in a 1-cent coin. I'm talking about hidden treasure that could still be sitting in your change jar right now. 1967 was a strange and chaotic time at the U.S. Mint. America was deep in a coin shortage. Silver had vanished from circulation. People were hoarding coins. The mint was under enormous pressure to produce billions of cents as fast as possible. And here's where it gets interesting. From 1965 through 1967, The U.S. Mint removed mint marks entirely. That means no D, no S. Every 1967 penny looks like it came from the same place, even though they were struck at multiple facilities. Why remove mint marks? To discourage collectors from hoarding new coins. But whenever the mint rushes production, mistakes happen, and mistakes are where the big money lives. Now first, let's talk about the basics so you know exactly what to look for. A 1967 Lincoln penny will have the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. There is no mint mark under the date. That's normal for this year. If you see a 1967 penny with a mint mark, be cautious. It's either altered or damaged. The standard weight should be about 3.11 grams because these are 95% copper coins. Real, solid copper, not the zinc cores used after 1982. That alone gives them a small intrinsic value boost. But here's where things get exciting. In 1967, the Mint also produced special mint sets instead of traditional proof sets. These 1967 SMS pennies have a distinctive satin finish sharper than business strikes, but not mirror-like like earlier proofs. And here's the shocker. A 1967 SMS Lincoln penny graded SP67 red has sold for over $4,000 at major auctions like heritage auctions. And ultra-high-grade examples certified by professional coin grading service have brought even stronger prices when I appeal is exceptional. For $1,000, for a 1967 penny. That's life-changing value for a coin many people think is common. Now let's reset your attention with something even more dramatic. There are rare double-die varieties for 1967. Look closely at the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty." On genuine double dies, you'll see clear separation in the letters, not flat, shelf-like doubling, but true hub doubling with depth and spread. A strong 1967 double die in uncirculated red condition can bring $500 to $1,500 or more, depending on strength and grade. And here's the key. Most people never look closely enough to notice. Now lean in, because this is where hidden treasure gets real. Off-center errors from 1967 are highly collectible. If you find a 1967 penny struck 10% to 50% off-center, and the date is still visible, you could be looking at $200, $500, even $1,000 for dramatic examples. The more off-center and the better the condition, the bigger the money. Clipped planchet errors are another opportunity. Look at the rim carefully. Does it look like a curved bite was taken out of the coin? A genuine clip with the proper Blakesley effect, weakness opposite the clip can sell for $75 to several $100s. And don't ignore broad strikes. If the coin looks wider than normal, with a thin, stretched appearance and no defined rim edge, it may have been struck without the retaining collar. These can bring $150 to $400 or more. Now let's talk about something most collectors overlook, color. Copper cents are graded brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red, RD. A dull brown 1967 penny might be worth a few cents, but a blazing red, nearly flawless MS67 red example, that's where big money begins. High-grade 1967 business strikes in MS67 red have sold for over $1,000. Why? Because finding one without contact marks, scratches, or carbon spots is incredibly difficult. Billions were made, but very few survived in pristine condition. And here's another shock. There are rare 1967 pennies struck on wrong planchets. Imagine a Lincoln cent struck on a dime blank or foreign coin blank. These wrong planchet errors can sell for thousands of dollars depending on type and condition. If your 1967 penny weighs significantly less than 3.11 grams or appears smaller in diameter, don't ignore it. That tiny difference could mean hidden treasure. Now picture this scenario. You're sorting through an old jar of coins inherited from a relative. Most of the pennies look worn and brown, but one 1967 stands out. It's bright red, sharp details, almost glowing under the light. You send it off for grading. Weeks later, the results come back. MS67 red. Auction estimate, over $1,500. That's grocery money for months. That's a vacation. That's unexpected big money from a 1-cent coin. And here's what makes the 1967 penny so fascinating. Because there are no mint marks, collectors can't separate coins by location. That means condition and errors matter even more. It's a year where the smallest detail makes the biggest difference. Now let's inject another burst of suspense. There have been 1967 SMS pennies discovered with deep cameo contrast, strong frosted devices against reflective fields. While not as mirror-like as earlier proofs, exceptional examples have commanded impressive premiums. If you suspect you have an SMS coin, look for sharper rims and a satin-like surface. Compare it to a regular 1967 penny side-by-side. The SMS version will look cleaner, more refined, almost specially made. Because it was. Now here's the emotional truth. Every day, people cash in jars of pennies without checking them. Every day, potential hidden treasure gets dumped into coin-counting machines. Every day, life-changing value slips through someone's fingers because they didn't look closely enough. Don't let that be you. Tonight, pull out your 1967 pennies. Check the surfaces. Is the color bright red? Examine the lettering for doubling. Inspect the rim for clips or unusual spreading. Look for off-center strikes. Weigh the coin if you can, because that small copper disc might not just be pocket change. It might be big money. And here's the cliffhanger. There are still unopened 1967 special mint sets sitting in collections across America and the UK. There are still estate boxes that haven't been searched in decades. The next record-breaking 1967 penny could be waiting quietly in someone's attic. Why not yours? If you love discovering hidden treasure and coins with life-changing value, make sure you subscribe right now, because the next penny we uncover might be worth even more, and it could already be in your pocket. What if I told you that a simple 1968 Lincoln penny, a coin you've probably ignored 100 times, could be worth thousands of dollars, maybe even more? I'm talking about big money hiding in plain sight. I'm talking about hidden treasure that could be sitting in your pocket, your jar, or that old coffee tin in the garage right now. 1968 was a fascinating year in American coin history. After removing mint marks from 1965 to 1967 to stop hoarding, the U.S. Mint brought them back in 1968. But here's where the mystery begins. Proof coins were no longer made in Philadelphia. Starting in 1968, proof coins were struck in San Francisco. And that small S mint mark? That's where the life-changing value begins. Let's slow this down and show you exactly what to look for. A standard 1968 Lincoln penny was struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark, and in Denver with a small D under the date. Most of those are common. Even in nice red, uncirculated condition, they might bring $5 to $20. But the 1968 S-proof Lincoln penny? That's a completely different story. These were specially struck coins with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. They were sold in proof sets to collectors. But here's the shocker: some 1968 S-proof pennies have sold for thousands of dollars. A 1968 S-proof Lincoln cent graded PR 70 deep cameo by professional coin grading service sold for over $20,000 at auction through Heritage Auctions. $20,000 for a penny dated 1968. That's not hype. That's documented auction history. That's big money changing hands for 1 cent. Now you're probably thinking, okay, but how do I know if I have one? Here's what you do. Step 1. Check the date. It must say 1968. Step 2. Look directly under the date for a mint mark. If there's no mint mark, it's Philadelphia. If there's a D, it's Denver. If there's an S, you might have something special. But not all 1968 S pennies are valuable at high levels. The key is whether it's a proof. Proof coins have mirror-like fields. You should be able to see reflections in the flat areas. Lincoln's portrait will often have a frosted appearance against those mirrors, especially in deep cameo examples. Now here's where it gets even more exciting. There are rare varieties involving the 1968 S mint mark itself. Some proof coins show a repunched mint mark where the S appears doubled or slightly shifted. These RPM varieties can bring $100 to $500 or more depending on strength and condition. And here's another shock. There are 1968 S-proof pennies with dramatic double die errors. Look closely at Liberty and In God We Trust. True double dies show clear separation and thickness in the letters. Strong examples have sold for $1,000 or more. But let's reset your attention with something many collectors miss. The 1968 S penny also exists as a regular business strike from San Francisco, and this is where confusion and opportunity collide. In 1968, San Francisco struck circulation pennies as well. So you'll see 1968 S coins that are not proofs. How do you tell the difference? Business strikes will have a normal, slightly matte appearance. Proofs will have sharp rims and reflective surfaces. On proofs, the rim edge is crisp and squared. On circulation strikes, the rim is more rounded. This tiny difference could mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. Now imagine this. You're sorting through an old proof set from 1968. Most people never examine the coins closely. They assume they're all the same. But you notice one penny looks unusually sharp. The contrast between Lincoln and the background is intense. The mirrors are deep and flawless. You send it for grading. Weeks later, the result comes back. PR 69 deep cameo, or maybe even PR 70. Auction value? Potentially 5 figures. That's life-changing value hiding in a plastic case people ignore. But we're not done. Let's talk about errors in circulation strikes. 1968 pennies. Both Philadelphia and Denver are known for off-center errors. A 20% off-center strike with the full date visible can sell for $200 to $500. More dramatic examples can go even higher. Clipped planchets? Those curved bites on the rim can bring $75 to several $100s. Broad strikes? Coins struck without the retaining collar, resulting in a wider, flatter appearance. Those can bring $150 to $400. And here's another big money possibility. Wrong planchet errors. If a 1968 penny was struck on a dime blank or foreign planchet, it will weigh less than the standard 3.11 grams. These rare errors can command thousands of dollars at auction. That's hidden treasure hiding in plain sight. Now let's talk about condition, because condition is king. Copper coins are graded brown, and red. A fully red 1968 penny with no spots, no scratches, and blazing luster is extremely hard to find in high grades. An MS-67 red 1968 penny from Denver has sold for over $1,000 in top condition. Why? Because survival in pristine state is rare, even when mintage numbers were high. And here's the emotional truth. In 1968, billions of pennies were made. They passed through millions of hands. They were tossed in drawers, scraped in pockets, dropped on sidewalks. Very few survived perfectly preserved. And that's why those few command big money today. Now let me bring this home. Tonight, pull out your 1968 pennies. Separate the ones with no mint mark, the ones with a D, and especially the ones with an S. If you have proof sets, examine the surfaces under strong light. Look for deep mirrors and frosted devices. Check the rims. Are they sharp and squared? Inspect the lettering for doubling. Examine the edge for clips or unusual spreading. Weigh the coin if possible. 3.11 grams is standard. Anything significantly different deserves attention, because one subtle detail could turn an ordinary penny into hidden treasure. And remember this, auction records prove it. Collectors have paid thousands, even over $20,000 for exceptional 1968 Lincoln pennies. That's not fantasy. That's real money. So before you dismiss that 1968 cent is common, take a closer look. Because big money doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And if you love discovering coins with life-changing value, make sure you subscribe right now. Because the next rare penny we reveal might be worth even more. And it could already be sitting in your collection.